I want you to think about this for a moment. Every morning you wake up, you walk, you move around, and you feel like you're doing everything right, like you're being responsible with your health. But there's something no one has told you. That habit you work so hard to maintain might be quietly failing you. Not in your heart, not in your lungs, but in the system that literally keeps you standing. There's a muscle group that, after 60, begins to shut off without you even noticing. And by the time you do notice, that's when you've already fallen. That's when you can't get up from the couch without help. That's when your doctor tells you that you need support to walk. That muscle is your glutes. And in the next 12 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why they shut down, what happens when they do, and the 5 specific movements that wake them up, restore your stability, and can make the difference between living independently or living with limitations. Stay until exercise number 4, because that one in particular creates the most noticeable changes in my patients over 70. There's a very common belief that I want to dismantle today, and it's this. If I walk every day, my muscles are fine. I understand why that belief exists. Walking is accessible, it's free, it's enjoyable, and yes, it has real, well-documented cardiovascular benefits. The problem lies in what walking does not do. Electromyography studies, which measure the electrical activation inside muscles during movement, show us something that changes everything. During a normal walk on flat ground, the gluteus maximus, the largest muscle in the human body, activates at only about 32% of its maximum capacity. Think of it this way. You have a huge engine, but you're only using a third of it. The rest is asleep, and sleeping muscles, over time, atrophy. Specialists call this gluteal amnesia. The brain literally loses the ability to recruit those muscles because it never truly needs them at high intensity. And the consequences aren't just about strength. They affect balance, posture, back pain, and something far more serious, fall risk. So what do? 5 specific movements, each with a precise biomechanical purpose. Let's begin. Exercise 1, the step up. The first movement is called the step up, and although it looks simple, in clinical settings, it's one of the best indicators we have of longevity and fall risk. Why does it work? When you walk, inertia helps you. Your body uses the momentum of the previous step to move forward. But when you step up onto a platform, that inertia disappears. You have to generate force against gravity using a single leg. That activates the hip and knee stabilizers in a way that walking never does. A study from the University of Florida documented that practicing this movement increased single leg strength in older adults by more than 25% in just a few weeks. What are you really stimulating? When you press your heel into the platform, you're sending a high-intensity signal to both bone and muscle. That signal stimulates bone density in the femoral neck, the exact area where the most dangerous fractures occur in older adults. And it forces the gluteus maximus to fire fully in order to extend the hip. How do you do it? Use a low step or a stable platform about 6 to 8 inches high. Place your entire foot on the surface. Drive through the heel, not the toes. Step up in a controlled manner. Step down slowly. The lowering phase is where the greatest muscular work happens. You don't need height, you need control. If we neglect this vertical strength, we eventually lose the ability to get onto a bus, climb stairs, or step over a small curb. The world shrinks. Exercise 2, the glute kickback. The second exercise addresses a problem that affects almost everyone over 60, even though few recognize it as the source of their discomfort: hip flexor shortening. The invisible problem. We spend many hours sitting, on the couch, in the car, during meals, and with every hour seated, the muscles at the front of the thigh, the hip flexors, gradually shorten and stiffen. This leads to something called reciprocal inhibition. When one muscle is chronically tight, it sends a chemical signal to the opposing muscle to relax and lengthen. The opposing muscle to the hip flexor is exactly the glute. The result is what we clinically observe as the senile shuffle: shorter steps, hips that don't fully extend, and a lower back that has to overwork to compensate. What does the kickback for? This movement isn't just lifting your leg backward, it's a neurological reset. It forces the glute to contract against that hip flexor tension, restoring the hip's natural range of motion. The result is a longer, more confident stride and a lower back that no longer has to act as the secondary engine of movement. How do you do it? Stand facing a chair or a support bar. Keep your back straight and your core lightly engaged. Without arching your lower back, move one leg backward in a controlled manner until you feel maximum glute contraction. Hold for 1 second. Return slowly. Repeat on the other side. The most common mistake is arching your lower back to lift the leg higher. That cancels out the glutes work and stresses the vertebrae. Less range, more true contraction. Exercise 3, the glute bridge. This is probably the most therapeutic movement that exists for the aging spine, and it's also the most misunderstood. The wrong diagnosis. Many of my patients come in with chronic lower back pain. They've tried physical therapy, taken anti-inflammatories, brought special mattresses, and the pain keeps coming back. Why? Because the problem isn't the back, it's inactive glutes. When the glutes don't properly support the pelvis, the lower back muscles have to compensate. They work overtime just to keep you upright. Over time, that overuse leads to inflammation, tension, and chronic pain. The glute bridge restores the correct order of muscle activation. It teaches the body that the hips are the engine, the spine is the transmission, not the engine. What does it do biomechanically? When you lie on your back, you remove the balance component. That allows you to focus entirely on muscle contraction. As you lift your hips, you decompress the spine while activating the entire posterior chain, glutes, hamstrings, and lower lumbar area. This is what we call a closed chain exercise, safe for all ages and fitness levels. How do you do it? Lie on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor, hip width apart. Press your heels into the ground. Drive your hips until your body forms a straight line from shoulders to knees. Squeeze your glutes at the top for 2 seconds. Lower down slowly and with control. Don't lift using your back. The drive comes from your heels and your glutes. With consistent practice, this movement alone can significantly reduce chronic lower back pain in people over 60. Exercise 4, seated banded abduction. This is the exercise I mentioned at the beginning, the one that makes the difference between patients who recover from a fall and those who don't. The invisible hip muscles. There are 2 muscles that are almost never mentioned but become absolutely critical after 60, the gluteus medius and the gluteus minimus. They sit on the outer side of the hip, and their primary function is to prevent you from falling sideways. Statistically, sideways falls are the most dangerous because the impact is direct on the femoral trochanter, the most vulnerable point for a hip fracture. Walking does not strengthen these muscles, it barely activates them. The science of the recovery reflex. When you trip, you don't have time to think. Your body reacts in milliseconds. That reflex depends entirely on the hip abductors. If they're weak from disuse, the reaction is too slow or too weak to stop the fall. Strengthening these muscles is literally strengthening your ability to react before you hit the ground. A strong gluteus medius also keeps the pelvis level when you're standing on one leg. Without that stability, the pelvis drops towards the weaker side with each step. That produces the lateral sway we often see in older adults, clinically known as a Trendelenburg gait. How do you do it? Sit on a sturdy chair with your back straight and place a light or medium resistance band around your knees. Press both knees outward against the band's resistance. Hold the contraction for 2 seconds. Return slowly but control. The advantage of doing it seated is that it eliminates fall risk while perfectly isolating the lateral hip muscles. Small movement, massive impact on your daily safety.
Exercise 5, modified split squat. And now we arrive at the most complete, most challenging, and most important movement of all, the modified split squat, or, as I like to call it with my patients, the supported single leg stand. The problem of false symmetry. No one is perfectly symmetrical. We all have a dominant leg and a weaker one. When we stand up, climb stairs, or rise from a chair using both legs, the stronger leg compensates for the weaker one. The deficit stays hidden. This pattern builds up over decades until the stronger leg gets injured or simply fatigued. And at that moment, the person realizes their weaker leg can't support them. What does this exercise do? It eliminates compensation. By placing one foot behind you on a support, the front leg has to fully carry your body weight. It can't ask the other leg for help. This simultaneously trains single leg strength, proprioception, balance control, and the hip extension we worked on in the previous exercises. It's a total integration movement. How do you do it? Stand in front of a sturdy chair or a bed. Place your back foot on the support surface with the top of your foot facing down. Your front foot should be far enough forward so that when you lower down, your knee does not go past your toes. Lower your body in a controlled manner by bending the front knee. Keep your torso upright. Only go down as far as you feel safe and stable. Depth doesn't matter. Control does. Come back up by driving through your front heel. That's what activates the glute instead of the quadriceps. When I see a 75-year-old patient master this movement, even with limited range, I know their fall risk has decreased significantly. They're not just building muscle, they're building neurological confidence in their own legs. I want you to leave this video with one very clear idea. The goal of these 5 movements is not to turn you into an athlete. It's not to train like you're 30 years old again. The goal is far more important than that. It's to be able to get up from your couch without help, to climb the stairs in your home without fear, to walk in a park with uneven ground without feeling like you might fall at any moment. It's to still be the pilot of your own life at 80 years old. The human body is extraordinarily adaptable. We used to believe that muscle loss after a certain age was inevitable and irreversible. Today we know, thanks to research on neuroplasticity and skeletal muscle, that strength and coordination can be regained even in your 80s and 90s. But it requires specificity. It requires doing the right movements, not just the easy ones. You don't need high intensity. You need high frequency and proper form. 3 to 4 times per week, these 5 exercises, with control, with patience. If this content was helpful to you, I'd like to ask you for something. Leave a comment telling me your name, your age, and the city you're watching from. I read every comment, and knowing there's a community of people actively taking control of their health is what makes it worth continuing to create this content. Like the video if you think someone else needs to see it, and subscribe so we can continue this conversation. Your independence isn't an accident. It's a decision you make today.